Boom! This weekend, MOTO from around the world, and we have some massive musical chairs going on with a sidebar of rumors that potentially is accurate, right? Because sometimes rumors end up having a shed of truth to them. So thanks for joining the live show. I got sticky notes up the wazoo here because of my daughter, and let's get into this. So let me share my screen. Because Dawn, man, is this going to be the show of musical chairs as of right now? So first off, okay, the big one, yeah, we've somewhat alluded to it, is this man right here, Austin Forkner, signing with Triumph. And that is the reason of my thumbnail, that Triumph is spending a bunch of money. Yeah, they need to spend a bunch of money. They have lost some decent riders with Savachi and also with Little Ferry. And they need to do something. They've been doing decent overseas, but here in America, it's been lackluster. And what's going to happen next year? Well, Ducati's coming in, and we all know I think Ducati's going to spend big money to get the likes of a Roxon, a Tomac, a Deegan, right? Speaking of people that are spending a lot of money, it's still Star Yamaha, but we'll get into that. Back to Triumph here. Okay, so if this is true, the biggest note would be Austin Forkner. We know Jordan Smith has got winning power. However, the dude that I think can bring home some championships is Austin Forkner, and maybe he just needs to get off that green machine. But there has been definite rumors of, if you leave pro circuit or you can't make it on pro circuit, you are SOL. Nobody wants you. That's kind of the way Mitch Payton sets it up. If you can't do well here, you're not going to do well anywhere else. But what's interesting is I believe in his contract, he's got a guaranteed 450 slot. So for him to go to Triumph, which we know only have a 250, he would be giving that up. Totally giving that up. But maybe did they work something out because Prado's coming over here to Cowie because you had Adam Cincerello decide to retire. So there was a spot that opened up, but we have the likes of Austin Forkner not wanting it. Those are all stuff to consider and think about. And then Styles Robertson. Okay. So they've got two big heavy hitters that can win races. This dude, if he can overcome just some of the bad luck that he's had, boom, right? He should be decent here. Along with, they have a new Enduro team manager. Paul Edmondson has been appointed the team manager for Enduro. And for the Super Enduro World Championships, they signed Johnny Walker. So Triumph is spending some big bucks here, right? Yeah, you'd say, Johnny, we don't have any big name. I beg to differ. I believe that Austin Forkner and Jordan Smith, those are some big names. And these guys, actually probably all three of them, are probably going to make more money with Triumph than they would with Yamaha and Kawasaki and, Husqvarna, the places that they were out. Because we all know that most of their deals are performance-based, but I would just suggest that their managers would be asking for some sort of a salary. That's what I would be doing if I was Austin Forkner, because there's no telling if you're going to be sticking around. If history has a way of repeating itself, boom, that's just how it goes. Here, I will get to some of the comments as well. Big O's Grip says, Johnny Walker's been posting a bunch of clips on that thing. Yeah, I have a review of this guy. Where is it? These are the live show. Oh, yeah, right here. This guy. That is pretty decent. You might be interested to see what, a bunch of guys think of that bike. It's not just myself, but it's other guys. $10,000. It's one of the big caveats of this motorcycles. You'd expect a little bit more pieces and parts, but I digress. Getting back to what we were talking about as far as musical chairs is Jeremy Sewer. It's probably Sewer. So I apologize that I cannot pronounce freaking almost anything, right? But he has joined Ducati for this Desmo 450. This is a big hitter. That is a good name to be joining Ducati for the 2025 MXGP. Again, Ducati is starting to slowly throw some money, but I believe here in America, they're going to throw big kudo bucks at the likes of Deegan and a Tomac, something like that. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that as well. And this was a surprise to me. Again, until they officially say something, it's just kind of hearsay. So allegedly, these are where guys are potentially moving. But Justin Cooper, in his contract, it was a performance based, where if he did decent enough, he would get to stay on Star Yamaha, even though Star is spending a bunch of money for the likes of Deegan, for Tomac, for Webb, who I know for certain is getting a decent pay boost because it wasn't sure if Tomac was going to stay around for 2025. And with him going to CDR Yamaha for the World Supercross, and maybe he's just trying to get paid a little bit more because Yamaha's not able to pay him as much as he would like. That's somewhat theoretically where I'm kind of going with some stuff here, but badass for Justin Cooper to be able to keep that Star Yamaha ride if this is true, because in Moto and in Supercross, he was up front. He had some really decent rides. Ashley, she says, Triumph, love their not playing it safe approach. Great for the sport. Agreed. And if you saw my review, I guess spoiler alert here, I basically said that it was kind of the best of all worlds. The 250, it turned really effing good. It had the frame of the Honda, so it felt rigid and stiff. And then it had the power band of the likes of a KTM and a Husky that just, you could pin it to the moon. So there was lots of good things, along with having no air forks, which was awesome. You could add some different aftermarket pieces and parts. I did think that the launch control was a gimmick. I did think that the quick shift was a gimmick, because after basically second gear, you could just drop the elbow and just yank that sucker and it was smooth enough to shift, right? But go check out that, because I did like that bike. It was a little fat, felt a little heavy, felt a little bit closer to like a 350, but it was strong. Riding my buddy's Husky 350 this weekend, it definitely reminded me that Triumph is a really, really powerful motorcycle. I ended up throwing a code at one of the Starks, so I'll show a little tidbit of the Stark breaking on me here soon as well, because I did get that on there. But I ended up hitting my head and getting a concussion, because it's been a while since I've fallen off a dirt bike. So oy vey me. But let's get back to the show and the news from around the world. Okay, let's add this. Boom. But I wanted to make sure that I'm communicating with some of the comments here. Oh, and then we got this dude, Crashadoo. Yeah, I know it's kind of a bummer that that's his nickname, but hey, if he doesn't crash so much, they wouldn't call him Crashadoo. Well, what is the new nickname for him? Because his nuts were hanging out. I don't even know what it would be, but anyway, that's what happened in Supercross here. But he is back on the pro circuit, which is decent. I'm assuming 250 again. And yeah, the rules are getting close for most of these guys, that they are forced to hop out and join the 450 squad, because of the rules have been changed the last couple of years. As far as if you win, you can redeem yourself, you can defend it, but then you got to move the F out, and you can't really go backwards. And, if you win so many races, you got to move out, and then make so many points, you got to move out, that sort of thing. So we don't have the likes of Mike Brown and those guys just continuing to wax, where we want the young kids in the futures to come up, which I do agree with the rules there. And I could go more in depth about those rules, but it's good to see McAdoo still having a spot on that pro circuit squad, which makes it even more believable that maybe this guy moved with Austin Forkner, because, pro circuit with inflation and everything going on, money is tight. KTM stock has been going down the poop hole, which is interesting because, I'm somebody that's bought 2 or 3 other bikes for like 30 grand. And yeah, right. So, but the feds did just announce German Powell's going to talk here in an hour about the half percentage point, 50 basis point cut for interest rates, which is great. So if you're looking to buy a bike, wait a couple weeks. The interest rate from the banks are going to be better. So that is good for the sport as well, because everything from home ownership to car ownership to bike ownership, things are expensive right now. Nobody wants to go buy a $10,000 Husky That's not a Husky. That's a Triumph. $10,000 Triumph at 6-7%, right? Wait till that sucker's at 5.5%, 5% or more. Dun, dun, dun. So getting back to what we were talking about with Cowie. Well, Tai Masterpool signs with Pro Circuit. So it's not just a temporary ride. It is a full-blown contract ride. So that's good to see him, because it's been, gosh, 5-ish years since he has been on a factory squad since getting cut from Star Yamaha. That doesn't happen often. You don't normally see a rider get cut and then be able to bounce back and get a ride. So I would have to say it had a lot to do with him in the privateer season of last year of motocross, being able to put the shit where he needed to inside that top 5 battle with Ferrandis and Cooper and all the top runners, at least for some of the motos, almost getting on the podium a few times. So that is awesome. But also, there's a funny caveat. Normally, you don't get rides from just motocross performance. You could be the fastest mofo at all, but if you can't ride supercross, these guys aren't going to hire you for a moto only contract. That's just not how our industry works. You got to be able to first ride supercross, and then motocross is just something that you're contracted to do, which is kind of a shame, because most of us are just elbows getting greased, right? We born and raised with the dirt, the sweat, the tears of the great outdoors. And it's interesting that, the money doesn't think that way. So here, moving on. Arenacross have released their schedule. So take a screenshot of this if you're looking to ride. There's a couple rounds in Loveland. I really like what these guys are doing over there with how they switch up the races between, hey, if you win the first moto, basically race 1, then it is a reverse where now you have to be on the back of the staging. So, if you're first gate pick and you win, you don't get first gate pick again. Now you're going to get last gate pick, which I really think they should do that for the super motocross stuff, because it would just make things a little bit more interesting to have things get mixed up. But we know how I feel about stagger starts and that sort of thing. But along with that, with the super motocross, the most effing dangerous track of the entire year was there at Texas. Texas has some of the best dirt, but I heard that they got the dirt from the speedway there. So it's just being baked, and it was just hard pack, and it wasn't really the best dirt. You couldn't soak it well enough to really, I don't know, just make it decent dirt, right? And especially with the speeds, because it's on the speedway. These guys, I don't know what they were geared at. That's the one thing that I want to look at this weekend when I'm in Vegas, is to see what these guys are geared at. I'll try to count the teeth on the sprocket. Maybe the managers will tell me what they're running, but I would assume that they're geared actually pretty tall. I would assume that they've got 50s or something on the rear. That has nothing to do with their ECUs. Their ECUs could just change everything along with the transmission, because I know some of these bikes are built with just like 4 gears max, right? Some of them 3. Now they can kind of do whatever they want, but I would assume because of the speeds, they are geared real tall. And man, that was scary to watch, that these guys were able to race on this. And there's a few guys that end up hitting the dirt pretty hard. And this is something where instant concussion if you hit something like this. Gnarly, gnarly, gnarly. But back to some of the new bikes getting released tomorrow. So I believe with Mike that it is some sort of a new 2-stroke off-road bike, because I think there's a little teaser here of a kickstand. And look at that. It's street legal. There's the kickstand, there's the bike, there's the big tank. So it is some sort of an enduro bike that's going to happen, right? It's got a headlight on it. And well, it literally just says enduro right there. So I don't know why I'm thinking here that I'm guessing and I'm being pretty smart. Yeah, this is some big 2-stroke, maybe a 500 2-stroke. So yeah, pretty cool that we have Gas coming out with a new motorcycle, even though that their parent company, KTM, is struggling, and they've basically pulled all support for a lot of the racing adventures overseas and here in America. That's why you have Troy Lee Designs being able to buy back his company, I would say, for the sponsorship of that KTM. We'll see whether or not he sponsors another team, but a lot of guys have been losing rides because of the gas kind of going away. Same thing as Husky. They've had their budgets being cut as well. So, and ironically, speaking of Husky, and they've got a new limited edition Heritage model coming out for 2025. This sucker looks pretty freaking cool. Looks like it's got the Dirt Star rims on it. It's got that glossy brown clutch cover. I wonder if it's coming with, I'm sure this one, is this a racing bike? This one definitely looks like the 2-stroke. So I doubt it's got a bigger flywheel in it whatsoever. It'd be interesting to ride this sucker, but I like the plastic on it, right? Huskies are one of those things where you're like, you either love them or you don't love them. And that is kind of the thing. Getting some phone calls here live on the show. You're going to have to call my wife back. But man, that does look pretty slick. Definitely looks pretty slick. Dun, dun, dun. We've got some comments saying that RJ is hurt. He's going to be back here. Do I have something about where RJ crashed? Dun, dun, dun. Oh yeah, here we go. Let me show that since the comments are here. Here's RJ. Boom, hitting the tough blocks again. Oh, and this goes back to talking about how difficult that track was and how hard packed it was. Some of the other guys are saying, Doug said that, Steve-O said that RJ is a go. Duh, RJ is a go. Dude, I'd be lining up with concussion, broken hand, separated shoulder, because he wants to get paid. He's going to make the most amount of money this weekend. He's got to definitely try to just send it for just a bit, right? So, that is just a bummer to see these guys go down. And this is the second time in 2 races in a row that RJ crashes because of the tough block. Yes, I'd like to see the tough blocks potentially be more of a triangle shape, because these guys could try to ride over them. Boom, look, that tough block just took him out. He was doing nothing wrong except for just being too far on the outside. Like maybe the tough block should just be off on the side of the track, not nearly on the track at all. Let them use the entire deal, because here, watch him again. Ooh, ouch. Bummer for him there. Okay, so good to see that he's back and ready to do that. Ooh, we had a GNCC champion. Johnny is the GNCC champion. Woo! I do not like GNCCs, because who wants to ride for 3 hours, right? Man, these guys are epic. And especially, it's hard to have good guys cross over between MOTO and GNCC. Pretty much the only guy that's really been successful in this has been AP. We've seen the likes of Zach Osborne, Cooper Webb try to go race GNCCs, and it's somewhat of a lackluster performance. They are top racers, but once you get in the woods and you have to get over tree roots and go in and out, and not to mention that it is basically 6 motos back to back to no break. Yeah, something hard, but that's why I think AP is such a good pick for MX of Nations for the United States here. Dun, dun, dun. And this is something that, as far as the coolest clip that I saw all week long, was from Martin, right? Look at him dragging his elbow and his shoulder around, dude. Holy crap, on that Ducati. Freaking cool. This is somebody that, like, we are living in his simulation. This is essentially Stewart doing the Bubba Scrubs. This stuff is crazy. Mark Marquez was the guy that was dragging his elbow, but dragging your shoulder, oh my effing God, that is crazy. And Woody is commenting over here, is Carson Mumphin doing good? I think, is that right? I believe he is doing good. I think he had a rough couple days because he had a compound fracture, I believe, in that same rhythm section that what happened to RJ because of how hard packed this stuff was. But he is okay. Was it his tib and fib, or was his femur that he had the compound fracture? It might have been just his femur that he had the compound fracture. But holy cow, it's good to know that he is doing better. Okay, and if I get onwards to MXGP, they ended up going from like their 3-day forecast between practice and qualifying and racing to just a 1-day deal, because it was a safety issue there, because it was just some major announcement. I don't know if it was rain or something, or But they only raced one day for one moto here. And who we ended up having here, I'll come on MXGP. I'm giving you guys some coverage here. Do not demonetize me because I'm over here showing this overlaying while we're playing here. So Kyle Wolf ended up going 3-1 and he ended up with the win. He's got like a 40-point lead on everyone. Lucas Kunin was a 2-2 and Langenfeller was a 2-3. And when it came to the 450s, the big bikes, the MXGP class, well, you had Tim Geiger getting a crash and his foot peg was super messed up. So he ended up 17th out of 20. That's what's crazy about this is look at how many guys are on the gate here. Not many. Not many guys traveled all the way to China. That's the one problem with professional motocross overseas is you got 40 gates, but boom, not enough. That's again why the whole starting thing here in America, we shouldn't be having potentially 40 guys on our deal because it's just safer. How often do we see gnarly crashes in the start in MXGP? Less than Moto for sure. But as far as the points lead go, well, now it's Prado because Prado ended up going 2-1 for first overall, and he made like 22 points up on Geiger at round 19 here, which is crazy. I do want to say that here, these are the points, but for fifth overall, okay, we had the Privateer Superstar, right? Jan Pankar go 8-5 for fifth overall, which is nuts. Dude, this guy needs to have freaking a factory ride. So I'm pumped for him. He is on the team with Tim Geiger for the MX of Nations, and I really want to see him get a factory ride next year, dude. And truthfully, I kind of want to see Prado win the championship before he comes over here for Kawasaki, but that is all I have for this week in Moto. So Brad wants to say, yes, Nicoletti said that Tib was sticking out. Yeah, dude. Ouch. Not good. Nicoletti also said this is one of the main reasons why he was retiring was because of how sketchy that track was. But hey, guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button, which is just below this video here, and tune in. I'm going to have plenty of coverage for the Vegas final because I got my approval from the sport, which is cool. So I'll be there hanging out, asking some questions to most of the guys, and stay tuned for next week for This Week in Moto, along with the podcast and the analysis. So without further ado, keep it WFO. Where's that end stream button?